Hello guys, my name is Sebastian and today I'm going to show you how I did the remix of Chasing Cars by Snow Patrol together with Owen Norton. The remix actually started out by Owen because he sent me this demo that he had made of the remix, and he asked if I wanted to collaborate on it, and I heard it and I really liked the ideas. So I thought, yeah, let's do it. And I'll just right now play the first demo, the first draft of the remix. So it sounds kind of like this.
If I lay here, if I just lay here, would you lie with me and just forget the
Yeah. So as you can hear, the drop and everything is not really that similar to the final version, but I thought that it was a great idea to remix this song, and it had a lot of great ideas in it. So I asked Owen to send over the stems for his remix in wave format, and then I imported them to my project. I think I have some of them laying around here. And then I began working on it myself, and then I sent it back to Owen, and he really liked the idea, the new idea of the track, and then yeah, we just kept working on it, and I kept working on it in my project. So yeah, what I'm going to start with is the intro, and if we look right down here, I have my intro. Before the intro comes, there's this, it's an extended version, and actually people who really don't really are used to these intros, they kind of like complain about it, but I'll just want to say that it is so the DJs that play it out loud have some time to mix it on with another track. So yeah, there's the intro here. And the intro is basically a lot of my elements that I have in the drop and in the break that is just put together to create this intro. Yeah, so now we're moving on to the break, which is actually, in the start of the break I have this guitar, which is actually the looped guitar from the original Chasing Cars track, which I have looped and EQ'd. It sounds originally like this. Taken from this part.
we'll do it all.
So yeah, as you can see, I have looped it, and then I have EQ'd it. The EQ is automated, so it automatically goes up and gives it a little more high end in the end of the guitar stem. And then I have just made these small fade in and fade outs to avoid these clicking sounds, which automatically will come in the first part and in the last part of the sample. So we have that. Then I have some impacts laying around here, an impact of my own and one of Owen's impacts, which just is there to create a nice atmosphere. And then there is these chords that Owen has made. And as you can hear, they are very low, but it's just to give it a little atmosphere as well. Then we have our main, kind of like the main part of the break, which is actually the original track that I have speeded up to 128 BPM, and then I have actually just that's actually the break, or the main part of the break at least. I've done the same in the Maps remix, for example, where I used the original track to create the break, and then I kind of like put a lot of instruments around the track, so later on there will come a sub bass, and later on there will come some tambourines and percussion. But in the start, it's actually just the original break, because I thought it was really nice with all these guitars and so on. So I didn't really want to ruin the atmosphere with a remix. So yeah, I've just kept the original track in the break.
Do it
then Owen has some chords here.
We don't need.
Now that's pretty basic, so if we move on to the next part of the break, which is the chorus, I have this, oh sorry about that, I have this tambourine, which I use in a lot of tracks actually. Then I have the impact again, and some sweeps basically. Then Owen's chords are here as well. And this is where it gets interesting, because now we have reached the build-up. So in the build-up, what I have done here is actually I've still kept the original track because I wanted people, when they hear it, I want them to be able to keep singing along with the original track as the remix builds up. So I've kept the original track, and then I have done a lot of automation on the track. As you can see here, the volume, for example, the original track became a little too low in the volume, so I had to turn it up a bit, as you can see here, especially in the end of the build-up. And then I have low-cutted it as well, because I wanted to add my own sub-bass. Because when you have this track, all the sounds are kind of, it's just the original track, so I wanted to be able to give it my own touch, which is basically, and then I have this bass line under, then the tambourine, then Owen's chords, and that is kind of like the basic. Then the basic part. Then we can come down to this, which is my build-up elements, I would call them. It's basically my snare, and the snare is a sample that I have imported to my sampler here. I've called it Garrick's snare because I thought it sounded like kind of some of his earlier work, like Helicopter and that stuff. Then I have the snare with some reverb on, and actually this is Logic's own reverb. It's called the Platinum reverb, and I use it actually a lot because I think it has a nice distinct sound to it. I use, besides Platinum reverb, I use Valhalla reverb, which is a great plugin as well. It's down here, Valhalla Room it's called. But in this case with my snare, I thought that I want a more sharp sound, and I think the Platinum reverb has that sharp sound. So if you use Logic, I can definitely recommend you to use this plugin. It's not anything fancy, but it sounds great, I think. Then on top of that, I have my ride, and this is actually a really nice trick. If you kind of like miss something in the build-up, then you could sometimes the problem will be solved to throw this some ride on, because without the ride you can hear, and then I put my ride on. So as you can hear, it kind of like really gives it a lot to the mix, and the whole track becomes a lot wider. I've done this technique in my drop as well, but I will come in on that when I'm going to explain the drop. So besides the ride, I have this sweep up, which is basically just two sweeps. And then I have this ride riser, which I actually think it was a guy named Deficio has made the sample pack, which this riser was in, and I think it's a really great sample pack. I think you should go check it out. And it had this riser, which I kind of use in many of my remixes, so I think you should go check that one out. Yeah, then I have just also a percussion riser, and on both my ride riser and my percussion riser I have made them sent by the bus, and their output is going to a bus which I've called sidechain effects, and on that bus I have put a kickstart or sidechain plugin. I use Kickstart for sidechaining. I think it's a great plugin. I think you should check it out as well if you kind of like are looking for a sidechain plugin. It has a lot of basic standard settings that you can use here, which almost all of them sounds really good. And of course you can tweak it a lot here with mix and how much you want it to be dry. But I've used that one, and I've used it because I think it gives a lot of groove to the build-up, as you can hear with and without it. And I thought that sounded great. Then I have, before I will show you my leads, I'll just show you this one. It's yeah. Then I have this as well. That is basically just a rise effect. I think Nicky Romero actually was, or Actual, I think, was one of the guys who started using this, as far as I know, and I got inspired by it, and I made my own sound of it. It's really not that hard, but I, in way back, I made this this sample, and then I kind of like just used it since. So I have that, and then I have this white noise groove, which is actually basically just a white noise. And what I've done here is that I've EQ'd it, and I put on some gain, some direction mix, which I've pointed it into the middle of the mix, and then I have added a Kickstart plugin again. And again, it's just to gain, you know, to gain this groovy feeling, and it really helps as well as just as the ride helps making the mix a little more white. I think this white noise does it as well. And as you can see, I've used it in the drop as well. So yeah.
If I just lay here, would you lie with me and just forget the light?
And that was kind of like the build up. So let's move on to the drop. So now we are here at the drop, at the peak of the song. And I'm just going to explain it step by step, I think, because there's a lot going on here, and I want to be able to show you what I've done in different categories. So if we start by looking at my, what should I call it, the bottom end of the track, which is the kick and the percussion and stuff like that. I have my kick, which I have a sub kick and a top kick, which actually are two different kicks that I have EQ'd and kind of like glued together. I have my sub kick, which sounds like this, and I really like the kind of like subby bottom end of the kick. So I used that, but the top kick wasn't really hard enough, I think, for this track. It didn't really shine through the mix, so I had to import another kick and use that as a top kick. And this kick sounded like this. And as you can hear, the top kick is much more, it has much more power to it. So I EQ'd it and boosted it a little bit. And then I added a compression to it. And together it sounds like this, which I think is really tight, a lot tighter than the two different kicks when they play on each own. So yeah. Then I have just an impact drop effect, I've called it. Then I have my white noise here, which is actually the same as in the build-up. And what it does in the drop as well as it did in the build-up is that it helps the groove go much smoother in the drop, I think. Then I have my my little secret here, which is actually just basically a crash that I use a lot. You know, this is kind of like a standard thing in my progressive tracks because it really gives a lot to the track. It's just a standard, for me it's just a standard 4/4 Vengeance crash. that I have. Oh, and you can just see the smart little track here. It's called to put things in their folder. No, you have just copied 4 pieces of the sample. Then I just mark it, and then I work, yeah, of course, on an Apple computer. So I say on my spaceboard, I say Command, and then a Shift, and then F to create this little folder, which is actually really handy because then you can just press on it, and press L, and then you have looped it. So yeah, but what this was, that it was a crash, and it was actually I EQ'd it, and then I have used the sample delay to get the sound out inside of the mix. Then I have a compression on, and then I have this gain on. And what it does is that it kind of like the Ride did in the Buildup, it creates a lot more space to the mix, and it makes the whole track sound a lot wider. So yeah, I'll just play it for you with and without the crash on. And then without. So as you can hear, it kind of like give the track the last 10%, I think. And I use it a lot, and I could definitely recommend you to do the same if you kind of like think that your drop needs a little more, just the last 10%. Then add this crash or just another crash that you think sounds great, EQ it and add it to your track, and you will see that it kind of like lifts your track up a bit. Then moving on, I have some claps. I have one of Owen's claps that he sent over. It sounds like this. Then I've EQ'd it just to get the low end out, and then I thought it needed some high end to the clap, so I added one of my own. And what I've done here is that I basically just cut it out all of the body of the clap, so I only have the high frequency left. So as you can hear, it pretty much it fits very well with Owen's clap, and it just helps the clap gain a little more attention and shine throughout the mix. Then I have basically just this impact, which is kind of like, in my opinion, overused, but nonetheless I I chose to use it in this remix. And all together it sounds like this. Yeah. Oh, I nearly forgot. I have a hi-hat and a tambourine coming at the second part of the drop. Actually, I'll just show you. It's not really anything special. It's just this tambourine that I used in the break as well, with the sidechain on, and then my hi-hat here. And what I've done in the EQ part of my tambourine, I have actually high-cut it a bit. It's not really that much, but you know, I have both my white noise and I have my crash that uses a lot of the high end in the mix. So I kind of like thought I needed to prevent some of my other high end stuff to crash with these two. So I kind of like had to high cut it a bit to avoid the sounds from clashing. And you know, I've kept the body of the tambourine so it doesn't really do anything else but mute a little bit in the high end. But I would definitely recommend you to do the same if you think that your mix is kind of like too if there's too much going on. Then I think you should go in and then see on your different parts, okay, which sample do you think would be fine with a little high cut on, for example, or a little low cut on, and so on. Then I've done the same with my hi-hat, not that much again, but it helps give the track some space. So that was the percussion part of the track on the low end. Then we can move on to my bass part, and as you can see, it's all this is my basses that I have in my track. It is a lot, but I think, you know, I'm I'm kind of like the guy who always layer a lot of stuff together. It's really really rare that I have one sound that I'm just 100% happy with, you know. So in a lot of cases, I just kind of like add another element or many other elements to the sound to make it, in my opinion, perfect, you know. Or to I at least am happy with it. So that's what I've done here. I have just to start off, I have my sub bass, and I have not layered my sub bass, but I just wanted to have a glide effect on the bass, which is basically yeah, the glide here. I don't know if you can hear it really, but it just, you know, makes so the tones glide from one tone to another. Yeah. Then it didn't really fit on the first note, I think, so I just created another bass line similar to my first bass line and just turned down the glide here on the first note. That doesn't really play a big role. But I have my sub bass, and I know a lot of you have asked which bass I use, and it's actually one of Logic's own. It's the one called ES1, which I have been using for a very, very long time now. I have used a lot of different basses as well, but for the sub bass, I kind of like I've you know grown pretty happy for this one. So I can I have never moved on, and I think it sounds great. Also, you can just see here, it's just basically a sub bass which I have tweaked a lot with the cutoff and so on. It's not really that much, but I think it sounds great. Then I have added EQ, and I have low cutted it pretty high up here, high cutted it as well. But what I've done with the low cut is that that, you know, I have my kick and my sub bass, and I kind of like wanted them to glue together. And in order for that to happen, I had to low cut it a bit, because I think a good trick actually is to, if you're not sure that your mix between your kick and your bass is good, then try to walk out of your studio or your bedroom or what you're sitting and producing it, and close the door, and start the track, close the door, and then walk outside and try to hear the bass and the kick. And if you can hear your kick that, you know, pumps through on all four beats, then the mix is as far as I know made pretty good. But if you can hear the bass louder than your kick, so your kick really doesn't shine through in the mix, then I think you should go in and try to glue them better together. I think. But that's the sub bass, which actually has some direction mix on as well. Then it has some just a compression on, and then I have my sidechain here. And as you can see here, the sidechain also makes sure that the kick and the bass will not clash. So if we see here, the kick has kind of like from there until there to breathe, and then the bass comes up where the kick ends. And that kind of does so that the bass and the kick glues well together. Then I have, just mute these. Then I have another bass which is called the growling bass, which I've used a lot. I'm really happy for this bass. And it's actually it's a bass I've made Inspire, or made. I had this preset Inspire that sounded kind of like, let's see, it was yeah, kind of, sorry about that, sounded like this. And then I turned up the bit crusher here to get this sound. Then I made it wide because I wanted it to have it in the side of the mix, and then I added this arp to give it this kind of like, I call it the Tommy Trash bass, basically. So there you have it. Then I have this noise bass, I've called it, which is also made Inspire, and it's basically just there to create some fill in the mix, basically. Then I have this electro bass, which is actually one of my basses from early on I've used. It's not really, I don't know what it's called new order, because I kind of like made it out from an init synth, and it just has this growly sound to it that I like a lot. Then I've EQ'd it so it won't interfere with my sub bass. Then I put on the spreader, which is actually also one of Logic's own plugins that I've used a lot. I use it to make my basses, which are not my sub basses, sound pretty wide, you know, and that also makes my mix sound a lot better. I think it makes it sound a lot wider and a lot huger. So yeah, I have that on, and then of course kickstart. Then I have this mid bass, and what this is basically that I don't know if you can say so, but I would call it my mid sub bass, and it actually just creates some fill and some warmth to the bass lines. Then I have my chords, which are actually also made in Sound 1. Sound kind of like this. And on my challenge strip here I have an EQ, just to make sure that the chords won't interfere with my lead or my bass line. And I just also want to say right now actually that this remix is pretty old, but yeah, so later on I've gotten a new EQ which I use a lot. It's called FabFilter, the FabFilter Pro Q, and I think that is a really nice EQ. Unfortunately I didn't have it when I made this remix, so I just used Logic's own, but I would definitely recommend you to go in and check this one out. I think it's really good. But yeah, I didn't have it when I made this remix. So then I have the platinum reverb again, just to give it a little space, and then I've used overdrive actually. I think sometimes when you have a sound that needs to be a little more in your face, kind of like, then you can add the overdrive and play around with the settings here, and then almost every time I think it kind of like it gives something to your sound, so it gets a little huger. I've used it a lot and I think it's great. Then if we move on to my leads over here, and as you can see I have just as many leads as I have bass lines, because I like layering. So what I have here is my main lead, which sounds kind of like this. And then on top of that I have a big room, I've just called it big room synth lead. Then I have a super saw lead as well, just to give it a little rawness. And then I have this lead, which actually it was made. I made a remake of Calling by Grosso and Alesso, and from that remake I had this sound. So, and I added it, and I thought it sounded great with the other sounds. So I kept that in, and then at last I have this one. Which is also actually helping creating the body for the track, so, or for the lead synth. So that's my synth, and then on top I have this white noise, which I've made in ESP, one of Logic's plugins. And what I've done here is that I have EQ'd it a lot, so I only get the top frequencies of the white noise. And you know, right now you can't really hear it that well, but together with my my other lead sounds, it really helps give the lead sound a kind of like a lot more wider sound, I think. So what I've done here on my lead sounds as well is that I have taken them all, and then I have made them all go through bus 2, which I have called my lead automation. And the reason I do this is that then I can go in on my bus and I can add plugins that will count for all of the leads, and then I can create select arrange track, which allows me to go in here and automate all the leads on one time. And I've done that, for example, with the high cut, which I have on. And I think it's really great to be able to do that, because otherwise I would need to sit with all of my leads and automate them. So I think that was probably a game changer for me when I learned to do this. Then on top of that I have Platinum Reverb, which is actually just, as you can see here, throughout the whole build-up, it kind of like it gets bigger and bigger, and then it gets turned down and the drop comes. Then I have this dimension expander, which is actually I think it was Toby Green who told me to download this one. And what it does, I need to give that guy a lot of beers and thank and in return for showing me this plugin, because it's really basic, but it kind of like it takes your track to the next level, I think. What it does is that it actually just yeah, the name says it all. You know, it expands your sound a lot and gives it a lot more edge and makes it a lot wider, I think. You can hear with and without it. Personally, I think it took my lead sound to another level. You know, it just gave it this last 5%, I think. And then at last I have my kickstart sidechain, which is looking like this. And that is actually all I have in the drop. No, then we have just a small detail here, small but really good, which Owen had. This growl. And it's not really that much looking at the whole thing, but it's it kind of like just gives this edgy sound, I think, to the progressive drop. Then this dubstep sound comes in and just gives it a little raw feeling. I think it's really great. I've added this sample delay as well, just to make it go out in the sides of the mix. So yeah, that was basically the first drop, and the second drop is not really much different. I have a string on top of the drop, because I want, you know, I want my second drop to be bigger than my first drop, so I've added this string, which is basically just playing the main note of the song, or the key of the song, which in this case is A. I've added a sidechain, a compression, some EQing, and then I've panned it out to one of the sides to create some space in the mix. And then to top it all, I have this part where kind of like the kick disappears and it's just the leads and the bass sounds playing together. And this is actually the string which was on top of the drop, and then I've just played some notes that I thought sounded good on top of the other things. Then to top it all off, I have this. I just have some claps actually also playing. And then I have this guitar, which is actually one of my favorite sounds, I think. It kind of like helps give the track a really nice atmosphere. It sounds like this. And on the sound, I've called it "Wasted Love" actually, because I thought it sounded like a little like one of the sounds that Steve has in his track. But nonetheless, I think it's a really great sound. I've used it a lot in a lot of my new upcoming tracks actually. So yeah, that was kind of like the second drop. Then I'll just show you quick my second break, which is actually I've just added a few elements that wasn't there in the first break. So I'll just show you. I have in the second round of the break these synth, which I think Owen sent. This one, yeah, this one Owen sent. And I think it's really great. It helps keeping the atmosphere, and it just also gives a little hint that okay, this is not the original track. It's actually a remix. I've just myself added some platinum reverb and some sample delay, but the sound Owen made in I think Nexus or something. I'm not really sure, but yeah, he sent that to me and it fitted perfectly. Then his chords I hear. Moving on. And this is really the part where you can hear the drop and the drop melody interfere with the break. And this is actually the sound that I have that I called calling, which I've removed from all the other sounds, or just duplicated it, and then I've added it here without any real reverb. And I've also cut it a lot in the sound because I wanted it was kind of like it interfered too much with the main part of the break, I think. So I cut it a lot to fit in the mix, and then I have it playing here with some pan on as well. On top of that, I have white noise. And then I have some claps here. And then of course my tambourine and again the chords. And that is basically it, I think. So yeah, that's basically the whole Changing Cars track. I can also just tell quickly about the melody here, which I made, but what I did was that the original chords in the song was kind of like too long. They were double as long as these chords were. So I kind of like made my own chords that doesn't, if you play them together with the original song, they don't sound that good. They won't really connect with the vocal, but when you have them in the drop, it gets a lot more energy than the drop had with the original chords, I think. So what I've done is I've just used these chords in the drop, and then I just started playing some melodies on top of that, and I think it turned out great. I don't think it would have made the same result with the original track's chords. So if you kind of like have this track that you want to remix and you think that the chords are not really that great, then remember that you can just always change them in the build-up on the drop, so you get this natural shift between the original track's chords and then your own chords. That is actually what I've done here. So yeah, that was the remix, and I really hope that you guys liked it, because I think it was really fun to make. It was it was kind of like hard for me to find the right lead sounds and so on, but in the end I think I ended up with a result that me and Owen was really happy with, and we just hope that you guys are happy with it as well. Now I've just read some few comments that you guys have posted on my Facebook page, because I wrote that you could write some questions to me and I would promise to answer them. So right now I'm just going through all these questions and answering some of them. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in and watching this tutorial. I promise to upload some more tutorials in the future. So make sure to comment which of my remixes or original tracks you want to see tutorials for, and I'll do my best to record them. So yeah, thank you so much, and have a great day. Alright, so I'm just going through all these questions that you guys have asked me, and remember to, you can always just write to me on my page or comment in the comment section. I will try to do my best to answer you if you have some more questions about either my productions or future productions or how I made these or these sound or something. Just write a message and I'll do my best to answer. But yeah, these are some of the comments. Matthias George Vasilidis has asked what is my favorite synthesizer, reverb, sidechain and compressor. And I would actually say that my favorite synthesizer must be Silent One. I work a lot in Spire as well, and I think that's a really great and quality-minded product as well. But I must say that I've started out with using Silent One, and I still use Silent One to mostly all of my sounds today. So that must be Silent One. Reverb, as I've mentioned before, I'm really happy for the Platinum reverb that Logic has, but I also think that Valhalla's room reverb is really good. Sidechain must be Kickstart, and compressor, that's really difficult to say, I think. But I think Waves has a really great compressor that I can't really remember the name on right now, but it's also a really good compression, and I use that a lot as well. Yeah, then I have the yeah, he has actually just asked another question here, which is, if you could choose one artist to collab with, who would it be? And that's actually a really tough one, I think. But I might go with Avicii, I think, or Alesso. If I could choose someone who's dead, I must say I would choose Freddie Mercury from Queen, because I really love his lyrics. And he also have a really nice ear for melodies, I think. And yeah, I'm a huge Queen fan, and it would be amazing if he would just come back to life and join me in my studio to make a collab. But otherwise I would say Avicii or Alesso, I think. Then Casmoas has asked me a question, and he has asked, how did you learn producing, and can you tell the most important things to start off with making music? And I actually got to get into this whole music industry by a friend of mine who, when we were younger, I think it was back in 2012, I think. And he had this program called Virtual DJ, which he actually used, and he showed it to me, and I kind of like, I was really hooked on this idea by mixing tracks together and speeding them up and adding elements which you could do in the program. So that was what kind of like started for me. Then later on I got Cubase, because my father, he's a musician himself, and he works in Cubase, so I borrowed it from him, and I borrowed the computer from him. And then I just sat and actually tried making my own songs. And at that time, like most of people when they start out, I didn't really know what to do exactly, so just played around and added stuff and changed stuff and so on, played around with the MIDI keyboard as well. And unfortunately I didn't really know that there was anything called tutorials on YouTube and so on, so I just kept sitting working in Cubase and trying to make some sounds and so on. But yeah, I got to create my first song in Cubase, and I was just hooked, you know. Then later on I got an iMac and a set of speakers, and then I bought a Logic Pro, which I still work in to this day. And yeah, I've just practiced since. I think for me it has just been, you know, to sit day after day after day for several hours every day and just practicing, and it's not really I haven't really felt like I had to sit down and work or had to sit down and practice. I've just felt that I had to sit down and have some fun, so the easy part for me is that it's not really a job or anything. I like it, I love it, and I'm really happy that I can make money off it, but it's just as much as a hobby and something I find fun than a job or something. So that was also an important factor in the way I learned to produce, because I just sat down for several hours a day and worked. So yeah, then you have asked what's the most important things to start off with making music, and I've answered that a little bit already. I would say that it is to just sit down and create music for as long as you can. It doesn't really matter if you are having trouble with it at first. It's all about practicing, I think. And it doesn't really matter that you don't have the cool speakers or the cool VSTs and sounds in the beginning. It's just sit down and choose a software that you would like to work in, and just get to know your software and just work a lot, practice a lot, and it will come, I promise. Yeah, then Fernay Sanchez Mora has asked me a question, and he has asked who is your inspiration, and do you have a favorite DJ, and if you have, why he or she. And I think it's really hard to answer that question, I think, because my style and my taste of music has also changed a lot over the years. At the start I was really admiring Hardwell, for example, and Avicii, but before that I was also really into rock music, and therefore today, especially today, I think some of my really big idols are Metallica and Guns N' Roses and Queen, and I think lately I've become more and more tired of the current EDM scene that is going on today. So I've turned my eyes more and more on the old days, if you can call it that, and kind of like try to create some new music that is created by looking at the old rock sounds, for example, and using some of them. And I think you'll be able to hear that in some of my new tracks, actually, which I can't wait to show you guys. But if I should choose a favorite DJ or a favorite producer, then I would definitely say Avicii, I think. Some people don't really like his new album, but I think it's really good, because what I like about Avicii is that he has now kind of like, in my eyes, moved on from being just a producer and DJ to be a really kind of like musician, and that is a progress that I really find great, and I think he's doing a really good job. And besides him, I really admire Axel Ingrosso and Steve Angelo. Axel Ingrosso, I think I admire their mixing, especially because it's so clean, and for Steve Angelo, I admire kind of like the work he does for the upcoming producers as well in the scene, and the work he does to keep the scene new and fresh, and to bring fresh music into the scene. That was all the questions. Thank you so much for asking me all these questions, and I hope that I've given you some good answers that you can use. And yeah, again, thank you so much for watching this video and watching this tutorial. If you like it, I will promise to keep doing more tutorials in the future. Make sure to comment which track you would like to see as a tutorial in the next, and I will do my best to fulfill the wish. Thank you so much, guys. See you.